Live. Hello, Robs. We're back with day 4 of my book extravaganza, which is my 9-day vacation. I plan on buying 22 books per day for 9 days, equaling out to approximately 200, give or take. And I am on day 4, and I believe I'm already half over the hump of books. See how many I have. I think I have 26, 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 20. Is it 27? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. So that gives me 112 books in 4 days. So I'm well over the halfway point. Technically, one of these books isn't a book, but who cares? Let's go. Fanny Hill. This and only this is the complete $6 Putnam edition, making today's headlines. And I will go back and find the headlines for this book at some point once I start reading it, which I do plan on doing, which is from 1963. So it would have been an uproar back then for a sexual diary to be related. Or published, not related, but I guess it is related. Relayed. In the close of the evening, I took care to have prepared for me a warm bath of aromatic and sweet herbs. No other book of the same kind possesses so much elegance and energy. It is a genuine tale told with considerable art and gives us a graphic picture of its social age. The Georgians aspired to an idea elegance. Fanny Hill would have shuddered at Lady Chatterley. The actions described she would have taken in good part, but the roughness and coarseness of the dialogues she would have found unspeakably offensive. Cleveland offers a vivid social picture of his time and spoke as an artiste. I do not deny that Fanny Hill can shock some tender sensibilities, but I do not regard it as an evil book. Fanny's memoirs combine literary grace with a disarming enthusiasm for an activity which is, after all, only human. What is more, she never uses a dirty word. All right, that makes it better then. So, novelty ever makes the strongest impression, and in pleasures especially, no wonder then that he was swallowed up in raptures of admiration of things so interesting by their nature, and now seen and handled for the first time. On my part, I was richly overpaid for the pleasure I gave him, in that of examining the power of those objects thus abandoned to him, naked and free to his loosest wish, over the artless, natural stripling. His eyes streaming fire, his cheeks glowing with a florid red, his fervid, frequent sighs, whilst his hands convulsively squeezed open, pressed together against again the lips and sides of that deep flesh wound, Jesus Christ, or gently twitched the overgrowing moss, and all proclaimed the excess, the riot of joys in having his wantonness thus humored. But he did not long abuse my patience, for the objects before him had now put him by all his, and coming out with that formidable machine of his, he lets the fury loose, and pointing it directly to the pouting lipped mouth that bid him sweet defiance, in dumb shoe, squeezes in the head, and driving with refreshed rage, breaks in and plugs up the whole passage of that soft pleasure conduit, where he makes all shake again, and put once more all within me into such an uproar as nothing could still but a fresh inundation from the very engine of those flames, as well as from all the springs with which nature floats, that reservoir of joy when risen to its Blood Mark. That's Fanny Hill. Hell Testimonies by Mike Peralta. This apparently are testimonies of people who went to hell. How do we stop, repent, and turn away from it? I know how pleasurable sin can be. What do you got, bruv? Death hears you. That's funny that you mentioned Death hears you because Hell Testimonies. He told me, come walk with me and I will show you something great. We looked down from the ground and could see the earth and all that was done upon the earth. Jesus said, I am able to see everything. The apostasy that must be destroyed. End of Hell Testimony from Roger Mills. Then there was a partner where this guy claimed he was in hell, assuming he came back. Next, the angel took Daniel to hell, and they stood at the gate when the angel lifted his hand and let it fall again. All right, so this book contains several revelations of hell that God has given to various people around the world. These messages should be taken very seriously. There are many, many people in hell right now that thought they were right with God, but they found out at the moment of their death that they were not because of sin and disobedience in their lives. And then they found themselves in hell. Because of this, it is eternally vital that you read these testimonies of hell and to repent of any and all sins. Top of the evening to you, bruv. Dearborn, 50 years of progress. There's the Ford Rotunda on fire. General store. Winston Jewelers. When is this castle? Ford Motor Company purchased Fairlane in 1951 and donated the house and part of the land to the University of Michigan for a Dearborn campus. I wonder if that's still there. It's a fucking castle, bruv. I suppose you would consider this a booklet and not a book. Well, what's that say? Something about books, bruv. What was it? Drop books here for men in service. I see they had a drop box. Mayor Hubbard led the drive to donate books to servicemen. Right. Receiving the book is Dorothy Jackson Butler. Norman F. Edwards and Ralph W. Trotter look on. The service board on City Hall reminded Dearbornites of their contribution to the war effort. Hubbard was a avowed racist, but he did good things for Dearborn. Just didn't like black people. Actually, I think him and Mayor Coleman Young, who was a black mayor from Detroit, actually got along great. So, and I found this, and I mean, this is bizarre. It's basically the same book. It might be exactly the same book. It's the Titanic Survivor, the newly discovered memoirs of Violet Jessop, who survived both the Titanic and Britannic disasters. One is the special Centennial Edition. And the looks of this book, I'd say it's probably in the late 90s. So when the hell's the centennial of... When did the Titanic go down? Reprinted 2009. So what year is this one? I wonder if they're the same. I didn't feel like looking through that. This is 2012. So what he published in 2009 and then republished in 2012? What, the Titanic going down in 2000 or 1912? I don't know. Anyway, I got both books just because they were 50 cents a piece. I wasn't really about to look through both of them at the same time. I just said, fuck it, it's $1. 2 books. Same book, one just the Centennial Edition. Fatima for today. The Urgent Marian Message of Hope. My intention was to write a book that would combine 3 essential elements about Our Lady of Fatima. First, there are the historical facts of the apparition. Second, there is a message of prayer, sacrifice, suffering, and holiness of life. Third, there are certain questions and objections that have been raised concerning the message of Fatima. Is this the same as Medjugorje? George? I don't know. Firefox books, Foxfire books, that is. And there was only 2 editions at this house. I probably should have searched more for the other ones, but I gave up. I could only find 2. 2 of the, I think there's 6 or 7 of these originally. Soap making. I do want to learn how to make soap. So I believe you can make soap out of old soap, can't you? You put 2 pints and a half of water and 1 can lye, red devil lye in your pot. You got to stir it till this dissolves good. Then you got to add the grease to it. Then after you add the grease, you got to stir it for 20 minutes. Lye is dissolving now. Grease, this is the grease. You just have water and grease in the lye. This is breakfast bacon grease. You can have anything. I had a man the other day offered to give me mutton tallow. To make it out of. I think I'll take him up. I've always used hog grease myself, 5 or 6 pounds for this here. Wouldn't that make the soap smell like bacon grease? I'm gonna live off the land, boy. My bad. Speaking of living off the land, we're going to live off the land and live underground. Underground houses, how to build a low-cost home. This makes me think of that one lady, the one Russian chick who's building a tunnel. That really odd-looking woman who's building a tunnel in her basement. It has the little funny videos. You got to do this, bro. A 4-foot workspace all around the excavation is sufficient room for building and waterproofing the walls. Transposing the 4 corner points from paper to the site using a protractor, ruler, and surveyor's level. This guy was thinking it out. Still don't see how this house is I guess I do see, but it looks like it's not underground. Why is it above ground if it's underground? I don't understand. Is it underground or not? Because it looks like it's above ground to me. What the hell's she doing? Hay spread on top of the stones covering the footing drains will decompose and form a mat to arrest infiltration into the drain by the subsequent sand backfill. These are only 2 of the reasons. Your own home for under $8,000 in savings and energy costs too. Select your site, design your building supplies, and much more. Removing the sod within 5 inches of the retaining board and replacing it with a layer of sand covered by 6 inches. Sift the first 3.75 inch of topsoil through a 1/2 inch screen. There it is. The house is underground. He ain't fucking kidding. All right, well, there's that. 1,000 Beards, A Cultural History of Facial Hair by Alan Peterkin. You got the Hitler stash. You got the fucking manly man beard mustache combo, the Abe Lincoln, the fucking Lenny Meister, whatever his name was, soul patch, fucking goatee with the fucking whatever the wings. There's the fucking Raleigh fingers. There's the devil combo. Fucking. 6 Gillette blades. King Gillette. What a fucking name, King Gillette. We all got our beds, bruv. Did Edgar Allan have one? I guess he did have that little weird stash. That's the crusty stash. Why'd that guy look 80 years old when he was like 40? The history of the bed. Look at that. Whoa. Edward Lear, Book of Nonsense. I've seen that before. There was an old man with a beard who said, "It is just as I feared. 2 owls and a hen, 4 larks and a wren have all built their nests in my beard." Vampires. Back in time to the first darkness. The original stories. I looked towards the tomb. Just then there came another blinding flash, which seemed to strike the iron stake that surrounded the tomb, and to pour through the earth, blasting and crumbling the marble, as in a burst of flame. The dead woman rose for a moment of agony while she was lapped in the flame, and her bitter scream of pain was drowned in the thunder crash. Blood-sucking creatures of the night, the undead that stalk the living. Vampires have haunted our imagination for hundreds of years. This book brings together 8 tales of horror that have terrified generations. You will discover indispensable classics such as Camilla, a spine-tingling tale of female vampirism, and Dracula's Guest by Bram Stoker, the creator of the most famous vampire in literature. The collection also features Arthur Conan Doyle's story of an encounter between Sherlock Holmes and a vampire, and a nightmarish account of the undead by the acknowledged master of the tales of the supernatural, E.F. Benson? Never heard of him. Contents, Part 1, The Undead Awake, Vampire Beginnings. Wake not the dead. Camilla. The Vampire, John William Polidori. The Room in the Tower. The Horla by Guy de Maupassant. The Adventure of the Sussex Vampire by Arthur Conan Doyle. We tend to think of Count Dracula standing alone, towering over his stricken victims, the blaze of hellfire in his piercing eyes. Peasants cower in the village below. Mere fodder. Dracula has been alone for 1,000 years and will destroy innumerable human souls to survive 1,000 more. It can come as a surprise, then, to learn that Bram Stoker's majestic vampire hails from a Central Europe rather crowded with vampires and is in fact a product of many different folkloric stories and supernatural tales. Stoker invented very little, taking most of his ideas from the treasury of stories and tales that the Victorian developed from earlier European traditions, terrifying each other with them during the long, dark nights. More super scary stories for sleepovers by Q.L. Pierce. Is Michael's little sister really an alien? How can Hillary and her friends fight off invisible bats? And what really happened in that room at the end of the hall? Are you too terrified to find out? If not, then more super scary stories for sleepovers is for you. Seth and Monica each stifled a laugh as Gary slipped quietly onto the darkened, sagging porch of old Eli Kane's rundown farmhouse. The 3 kids delighted in doing things to cause Eli as much grief as possible. These don't sound scary at all. I guess I only read fucking 2 sentences, but... The Mayflower Madam. The Secret Life of Sidney Biddle Burroughs. The headlines splashed across front pages everywhere. A young woman of impeccable background and great elegance arrested for promoting prostitution. The media had a field day with Sidney Biddle Burroughs and her business. And what a business it was. Its clients were the rich, the prominent, the powerful. Its girls were flawlessly dressed, trained, schooled to deliver perfectly. Moreover, it met the top standards of managerial performance, a textbook example of the principles endorsed by America's best business schools. Now, for the first time, she tells her own story with candor and pride. She talks of her family, her career, blah, blah, blah. It was after this, 7, where she was fired for refusing to take part in the kickback scheme. It was after this, when in need of money, that she ran into a friend who was also unemployed, but obviously living well. Sydney inquired and found that her friend was answering telephones for an escort service. If you ever need help, call me, she said jokingly. Within weeks, the call came. Apparition and Late Fictions, a novel and stories by Thomas Lynch. Thomas Lynch is an undertaker in Milford, Michigan. I don't know if he's still alive. He's getting up there. I assume he's still alive, but I don't know for sure. He's been a poet for years, since the 90s at least. I might actually read this one on the channel just because I saw this guy read a few times. I wasn't particular. Oh, who the fuck's calling? Not answering. In the middle of a live cast. Methodist minister gone astray, a grieving trout bum gone fishing with his father's remains, an artist overwhelmed by incarnate beauty. These are just a few of the iconic yet utterly unique characters in Thomas Lynch's spirited collection set in Michigan's North Woods, in Ohio's interior, blah, blah, blah. Is it signed? What year is this? 2010. I have most of his books, if not all of them. Yeah, I think I do have them all. I may not have Still Life in Milford, but I definitely have the Grimalkin and other poems, because Grimalkin has a nice cover. It's got like a black cat on it. Apparition and Late Fictions. Freud, Insight and Change by Ilham Dillman. Medicine. Obviously, it's about Freud. The cornerstone of Freudian psychoanalytic theory and practice is the bringing about of change in a person through the communication of insight. Ilman Dillman examines the character of such insight, the nature of the communication, the manner in which it is translated into change, and blah, 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 blah. 2 books by Ernie Harwell about baseball. He was an announcer for the Detroit Tigers for like 40 years. And normally I only get these books when they're signed by Ernie, since he's a Hall of Famer and the books are worth more money, obviously, if a legend signed them. And Ernie was known to sign everything because he was a nice guy, apparently. And he's dead now, but he lived to 90 some years old. Great announcer, but that's why I buy those books. This book, Camping, the Ford Four-Season Sportsman Library. I believe I have the paperback version of this, but you can see the brilliance of, look at that. Tell me that doesn't look much better than your camping trip you just went on over the summer. Look at this. Look at that. That's life. That's what you think of when you think of camping. Even had an egg holder. Look at that. Had a stove and everything. Brilliant. Look at those clothes. Top of the line. Look at this. She can cook. She looks good. And she's in a camper. It's fucking brilliant. Yeah. Women of the 70s could cook like fucking champs. Those cars. The condor. Look at that. Look at that couch. brilliant. Is that Henry Ford himself? It is. I don't know if the tent was included in that car, but if it was, it's fucking brilliant. Something tells me it was not. Something tells me that's not very safe. I don't know what the hell's inside that tent. There's no way in how that's safe. The Nothing Book. Want to make something of it? For poets, cooks, travelers, writers, diarists, students, comedians, brides, grandparents, decorators, kids, tourists, doodlers, secretaries, list makers, forgetters, artists, blah, blah, blah. I'll save you the pain of all this. Show you that it is just a blank journal. But now I have 3 copies of this book. Oh, look how filthy it is. Where the hell was that little wet wipe I had? Let's clean it up. There we go. See? I knew I saved it for a reason. Now it's all nice and spiffy. I'll have to leave it unclosed. Get over there. And I also will need to dry this before I bring another book. Kinship in the Past, an anthropology of European family life, 1500 to 1900. Exactly what you would think it is. The Light in the Mirror, the story of Albert E. Turner Jr. by Doris Turner Patterson. There is a light in which beckons us. Some call the light wisdom, some call it truth, some God. This is the story of one man's journey toward that light. Albert E. Turner Jr., after 6 heart attacks and 2 strokes, was called the happiest man and a saint by many who knew him. He was not so much an extraordinary man as an ordinary man who found an extraordinary way of looking at life. This followed his contact with the work of Edgar Cayce, and especially with Gladys Davis, who had taken down Cayce's readings. Wonder if it's signed by him too, or her. No. Probably be an interesting book to read. Maybe. If it's just about him and his 43 strokes, it might not be so interesting. Kremlin Rising, Vladimir Putin's Putin. It's Russia and the End of Revolution by Peter Baker, Susan Glasser. I don't know what year this is from. Right, 2005. Updated edition. Can never have enough books on Putin. Woodstock 69 Summer Pop Festivals. Just obviously pictures of concerts and talking about the jazz festivals that happen. Girl with Her Tongue Out, 1969, blah, 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 blah. Atlantic City Pop Festival. Buffy St. Marie. Ramblin' Jack Elliott. Yeah. Peace, Love, Hippies. Buddy Rich. Now, there's a fucking drummer right there. Guy's a champ. The Vietnam Reader, as I stated before, I bought that because I bought a bunch of stuff from the estate sale, and the guy, bunch of belongings of that guy who was drafted to Vietnam. So grabbed this book. There was other books on Vietnam, but I didn't really care about them. I just got the Vietnam Reader. I generally hate books about war. There you go. Stanley Kubrick, director, visual analysis. Dr. Strangelove. Doctor Strangelove wasn't James Bond, was it? That was Doctor No. Oh, what's this? For immediate release, the world lost perhaps its greatest and certainly its least understood filmmaker, Stanley Kubrick. Has he really been dead that long? I don't think that's right. Love and Revolution, the first 101 years of the automobile by Richard A. Wright. And it's a chintzy little book, but I like the cover. Chrysler leaves GM and makes it the big three. First 101 years of the automobile. Graphics are cool. And lastly, but not leastly, a book on Jeeps. 1978 Technical Service Manual for Volume 3 for the body of a Jeep. Hopefully I can sell this and make some money, but who knows if I will be able to. If I can make 10, 12 bucks off it, I'm happy. That's all. Goodbye, bruv.